Hello and welcome. This is But I Don't Like Needles, and I am your host, Melissa Lone, Doctor of Acupuncture and Chinese Medicine. I am so excited to be kicking off the first of our international series where I've a big passion about this medicine, of course, East Asian medicine, and I get to talk all about it with other people who share the same views. But we can look at all the differences between the different styles of acupuncture and the different healthcare systems, not only across different states, but even different countries. So today, we are going to kick off our series with an amazing woman and a fantastic acupuncturist. Her name is Stephanie Castler, and she lives in outside of Barcelona, Spain, and she has a clinic called Accusage. She does massage, she does acupuncture, she's a beautiful human being, she does dietary support, and she's a mother of two. So, with no further ado, I'm very excited to welcome Miss Stephanie Castler from Accusage to our program. Okay, I'm so grateful and happy to announce that we have our first part of our international series, which is Miss Stephanie from Spain. She's an acupuncturist. I've known her for years. So thankful you're here. So grateful that you're taking the time. I know you're busy. You're a business owner, a provider, a mother, and we have 8-hour time difference. So I'm very thankful that you're here. So I welcome you to But I Don't Like Needles.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yes, and you're actually my first guest on this podcast, but I don't like needles.
Oh, I'm so honored.
Well, have patience with me. So I'm kind of winging it as I go. First of all, I want to kind of talk about you, of course. I know that you are from San Diego, California originally. Yeah.
Yes.
That you moved to Spain and that's where you began your acupuncture journey.
Well, it was always my dream to study acupuncture since I was 10 years old, but I took a little journey around the world before I got to Spain. I was in Hawaii for a while and then Costa Rica, and then eventually in 2010 I moved to Barcelona, and that's where I started studying acupuncture, and I haven't stopped since.
Oh my goodness, that's such a blessing that you were introduced to it so young. I didn't get introduced to this until I was, I think, in my upper 20s or maybe 30. And I think some people don't even get introduced to this medicine until their 40s, 50s, 60s,
Yeah,
or ever.
lucky. So lucky. There was an acupuncturist in my dad's office building, and that's how I got introduced to it. I started seeing her, and I felt amazing and thought, wow, I've got to learn this one day.
I love that. It has that kind of effect on you when you experience it, in my opinion. Yes. Okay, so you had a little bit of international experience, and your schooling, though, when you did start to dive into this, I know you are a massage therapist as well,
Yeah. I
right?
studied massage therapy in Costa Rica, and I've blended that into my acupuncture business.
So did you start with that first and then dive into acupuncture from there?
I did only because I stopped in Costa Rica for a few years and going to study acupuncture. And while I was in Costa Rica, I was introduced to massage. So that was just
Hmm.
a little stop before I got to start studying acupuncture.
And so then you went to Spain to do your formal training for acupuncture?
Yes, so I came to Barcelona and I found a school here. But what's really different about at least California is here in Spain, acupuncture is not nationally regulated. So doctors can perform acupuncture, but acupuncture is considered a natural therapy here. So what you do is you find it's a 3 years master program and you get a diploma. There's different testing, but it's not nationally regulated.
So there's no national boards per se.
Exactly.
I see. And then do you have to practice underneath a medical doctor?
No, no, no.
No.
Not at all.
Okay.
Totally different.
So within your schooling, I know this is so great because it is really unique and different in the different places and different cultures. And that's why I want to start this conversation. There's many things about this medicine that I adore and I love. One of the conversations, though, I think that's important is talking about trying to get us all on the same page in regards to, obviously, all of us are coming from the same history. We're learning the same classics, the same texts. We all have the same theories behind all of us, regardless of your style or where you do it and how you do it. There's that commonality, and all of us want to be a part of the healthcare system. But how we do it is different opinions and we've gotten in different places along with that.
Different
And
teachers.
so I just kind of want to keep the conversation open in regards to the differences and then how you feel about that. What do you feel and how do you feel it's going in Spain in regards to that?
Well, in Spain, luckily, a lot of doctors have started recommending acupuncture. A lot of people that come see me say that their doctor actually said, try acupuncture. So that's great. When I first started in 2010, when I was studying, a lot of people didn't really know what it was, but little by little, I feel like it's becoming more popular. I think in San Diego, everybody knows what acupuncture is, or at least that's what I thought.
You know, it's so fascinating because we get in this world. I always consider it like Hogwarts. It's like this whole alternate reality in a way, like this hidden world. And when you're in that world, it's extremely common and you feel like everyone understands it and knows about it. But truth is, there still is a large percentage of people that still don't understand it, haven't tried it, and even within San Diego. And as you said, I was looking in Spain, it looks like you have about just under 500 people that are acupuncturists in Spain. And honestly, there's just about 420, 450 in San Diego alone. So comparatively for your entire country, San Diego has that. So that's not even counting for all the other cities, you know, New York and San Francisco and a lot of other places that have large amounts of acupuncturists today. And that was, I think, at 2 years old, that study. So we've grown so much, but even then, there's so many people here 450 people for the city of San Diego. Really comparable, not really a lot, but comparatively to a country that has that as its entire country,
Yeah. Oh,
right?
interesting.
So we have a long way to go, but in the United States, I don't think it was even legal until 1970s. So, you know, the journey that we've come thus far has definitely progressed in
Okay.
our state. Obviously, we in California do have boards. We've talked about this on my podcast already. So we sit for boards. There is more regulation within California, and then nationally, our country has that. But it is still not all the same in regards to state and what the licensure is and the schooling and such. So in Spain, they are starting to, you're saying, get a little bit more recognition from the medical doctors, it sounds, which is cool. And they are starting to include acupuncturists integratively.
Oh, a lot. That's great. And I have people that come see me are in the medical field, which is awesome too. I love that. And
Yeah, I
they have
love that. I do too. And people don't realize that when you do go to school. So when you went to schooling and ours here, we have sort of a double major in a way. So we kind of learn a lot of the background of the allopathic medicine, the biomedicine in regards so for red flags and for, you know, our pathomechanisms and all that sort of stuff. We learn biology and neurophys and all the things. And then on top of that, we also learn the history and the philosophy of East Asian medicine along with the points and things. Is that similar?
I had anatomy and physiology, and then just all acupuncture, traditional Chinese medicine. But like I say, I've continued. I've had so many different teachers, and what I've found is it really is an art. There's a science, but there's also an art, and everyone that's been teaching me has their own style and theories that I think are also really important to take into consideration. And I have fun, learning what works for me, and continue with that.
Yeah. I love that you bring that up, that conversation in regards to things that do set us a little apart from maybe the biomedical paradigm that we're so used to, and which can cause challenges in regards to our regulation because of utilizing a little bit more of this interpretation when it comes to an intuition. So, you know, when you're feeling the pulse and you are feeling channels, there's a tactile aspect to the medicine that different providers and people with different histories and experiences, it really brings new things to the medicine that's a little different.
On the job a lot.
I think, yeah, so you did a lot of internships and externships and working behind other people, correct? Do you want to talk about
Yes,
that at
I'm
all?
actually about to start another one because I started in Barcelona and we were at an addiction center. That's where we were doing our intern through the school. That was interesting. Then finished the 3-year program in Barcelona, and I was thinking, I don't know, my teachers weren't even Asian. I don't think they've even been to Asia before, and had some doubts. So I contacted a doctor in Wuhan before anybody know where Wuhan was. That would let me just study with him for a month. He's a teacher and a doctor at the Wuhan University. And
Mhm.
1 month experience with him, just seeing how the medicine is actually used there. And that was cool. That was really.
I love that.
And then I
I
came to
love.
Barcelona, and I've been working here, but alongside studying some other things, doing the tuina. Is the tuina included in your studies in San Diego?
Mhm. Mhm.
I love the tuina massage. I'm actually now just starting to study the herbs.
That was my next question too. Yeah, in some states here, herbs are part of the licensure, and others they aren't.
Okay.
So for you guys, it's not necessarily a part of your training. That's an additional.
No, and I get acupuncture done all the time by a lot of different people, and everyone has their own style, which obviously you know. But I don't think anybody here in Spain has ever prescribed herbs to me. I know when I've talked to people about it, it's really hard to get the Chinese herbs here in Spain. So I'm going to study it, but I've been told don't count on getting the herbs.
Interesting. Yes. This is definitely, to avoid getting too political, but I mean, there definitely is a challenge right now as well for us, which normally it hasn't been. In the United States, there are places that grow it locally, and so we can get some that way. But there are definitely like raw herbs are hard because getting a lot of those we do get from China. But you're right, it is a whole nother specialty, right? Talk in my podcast about when we are trained as acupuncturists initially, it's you really are kind of trained as a kind of a primary care, provider. And then from there, it is a continual education, right? So the longer you do it, the more you specialize, the more you tend to start focusing here, and then you take a little turn. You just kind of keep putting more information and more tools in your toolbox to become a better provider.
Yeah, and it's great. I mean, it's not boring at all. It's so much fun. I love it. Anytime I have
Right.
free time, it's picking up an acupuncture book to read some more.
Exactly, and there's constantly more and more now that people are, there's a huge growth in our country with acupuncturists. There's an increase of people that are becoming acupuncturists, and more states are doing more of it, and it definitely is growing in our country. I'm not sure globally, so it sounds like it is there too.
Yeah, definitely. I must say, Barcelona is pretty international. So it's been fun seeing more of the local people coming to see me, but they're the more hesitant ones. Usually they're newbies to acupuncture. Whereas the expats, a lot of them came and were looking for an acupuncturist because they already had the experience in their country. A lot from
Yeah.
Germany. In Germany, apparently, they use acupuncture, I heard, with a lot of laboring in the hospital. I thought that was cool. We're not there yet in
Definitely.
Spain.
Oh, good to know. Yeah, no, great to hear. And the more that we talk about it, maybe, because I think that whole conversation of acupuncture and East Asian medicine, obviously, a strength is preventative care, but it is utilized when it comes to some emergency situations. And obviously, you mentioned mental health, so an addiction, right? So that is definitely the NADA protocol, which is in the ear and has been around a very long time and has been prescribed for people coming out of rehab or going into rehab as part of their healing journey.
Yes, definitely.
So you went to Spain, stepping back, and you went to school and you got your diploma, and then you continued working with so many people and gathering your studies, and then you opened your own business.
Yes, well, I opened up a little office right out of school. First, during school, I was living in the city and I had an extra room that I dedicated to acupuncture. And that's when I started inviting people to come over for a free session.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I started getting my experience was just out of my apartment, which was great. I was teaching English at the same time and found an office to rent right across the street from where I was teaching English. So I started balancing both, which I loved. And I did that until 2017. And what stopped me then was having my first child. So I moved away from Barcelona, a 45-minute train ride away. In my head, I thought, oh, I'm going to keep doing this. I'm just going to have a kid and somehow get into Barcelona every day. And then I realized, no, I've got to close down my shop and dedicate some time to being a mom. And then I did the same thing here in Arenys de Mar. I opened up shop in my home at first until people started to know me. And then about a year later, rented an office. And here I am, 2025.
Fantastic. And the name of your clinic
It's
and business?
massage, which is a plan.
Accusat.
Acupuncture and massage, where acupuncture meets massage. So,
Love it.
yes.
Yes, that's beautiful. I resonate with that because with my clinic, the same thing. My background being a dancer, using acupuncture, massage, yoga, all those things together was, I feel like, what kept me from missing performances. So I really connect to that. We have that in common, that love of massage and body work in tandem with the
And,
acupuncture.
and some people need it. Some people don't. Some people come in and they
Mhm.
just need some needles and they are good to go. But that's what's so beautiful about acupuncture is we have so many different techniques. It's not just about needles. There's so much more we can do. And if people don't like needles, no problem.
Yeah, and so you mentioned Tuina, and from my understanding, that kind of the beginning of Tuina, which has been around a very long time, was almost the precursor for the chiropractic that we know. It was bone setting.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a very specific style of like rolling and rocking, and it really is about just kind of triggering lymphatic and blood flow and all that sort of stuff. And it can be a little aggressive for some people. It can be a lot for some people. They're not used to that because over here in our country, we always think Swedish, sort of all like very smooth and relaxing and this kind of thing. And this is a very almost medicinal version of massage.
Yeah, I start out almost every session with some tuina because I find that warms up the person. I remember my teacher actually said acupuncture is such a cold therapy. And with the tuina, it relaxes their body, warms them up, and it helps
Mm-hmm.
receive the needles a little bit better. And we find lots of spots. Somebody comes in for a complaint of their shoulder hurting, but by touching down their legs or on their ankle, you find these spots that they scream, these tender spots that are totally blocked up. So with the tuina, it really helps finding those spots. I think that I wouldn't have found otherwise.
I love that you. I find it interesting. I've never heard that before, saying that acupuncture is kind of cold, but it makes sense when you think about it. And it really is true because you're using metal, right?
Mhm.
And metal can be cold, which is why we often add something like moxibustion or moxa because that helps balance that yin and yang. And so that makes sense because there's that the energy is we are bringing our chi or energy to the needle, and the more that you give them a little bit of a warm up beforehand, hands on, touching, kind of is, I think, a really nice yin yang balanced way to treat.
Yeah, people seem to enjoy it. I know I
Obviously, you're still doing your thing and you're building business. Okay, very cool. So we've touched on that. We've touched on the style of acupuncture that you do. Do you do more of a traditional TCM style? Do you do Japanese style? Do you do trigger point, motor point, five elements? So tell me, what is your specific style? I've talked a little bit about this on my podcast. So
definitely most of my training has been traditional Chinese medicine, and I love it. But I have had a couple of teachers that were into Japanese. I have not learned enough to feel comfortable saying that I know how to perform Japanese acupuncture. But when it comes to children, the Shoni Shin, I love really, yeah, like I say, mostly traditional Chinese medicine, but when it comes to children or very sensitive people, the Shoni Shin, which I don't know if you're familiar with or not, with the tools instead of needles have been really great. Really.
Yeah, so I think I mentioned it once, but can you kind of talk about it a little bit more? Just because, but I don't like needles. I do mention that there are options of acupressure and there are things that we can do for pediatrics, for example, that don't include needles.
Exactly. And like I say, the Shonishin I've only studied a little bit. It's one of the books I'm reading now because I'm so interested in learning more. But there are just many different options for tools. So you'd be activating meridians with these tools, rubbing down meridians to activate them. It's very soothing. It's great because you can teach parents how to do it at home. And if they don't have any special tools, you can just grab a spoon out of your kitchen and use a spoon and lightly pass it over the meridians. And it's really great. It's very relaxing. You can also do
Mm-hmm.
tapping with any of the instruments.
Yeah, tapping is becoming a very common thing, as if it's a new thing in our culture over here about tapping, but it's been around for centuries, according to using shonishin and using on certain points and doing tapping and pressing. The tools that you're talking about, they can be stainless steel, they can be jade, they can be a lot of different things, but they are not sharp. They're easy to touch, so it's not sharp at all or painful.
Okay.
I also love that you're talking about pediatrics. So you as well treat all ages, I assume. How
I
young
am
have you
not gonna
treated and how
lie.
old?
I am happy to treat all ages, but I do not have children coming in to my clinic
I
besides
gotcha.
my children. Right now, I'm practicing on my children. Uh,
That's how it starts.
my and their friends, but it's not my strong point
Yeah.
right now until I get more comfortable
Yeah.
with it.
It definitely is a good point to note that although your primary care acupuncturist may treat everyone, it is really important to find someone who has experience with pediatrics because I mean, if you are a parent, this is a natural progression. If you are in this medicine, that's what happened to me. I definitely wasn't interested in pediatrics until I have a child. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, I better figure this out and dig through some things and learn some stuff. And you start to realize how powerful it is for pediatrics. And then you have some experience and then you start working with other kids. That's a common thing, I think. Yeah.
Exactly. And just for preventative and just little things that we can change. I think for children, especially the diet, I mean, we've talked about the
Yep.
dairy. I see
Yeah.
kids suffering with eczema, especially.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually
Mm-hmm.
what got me into the acupuncture was I had eczema when I was little. And I remember my
Uh-huh.
acupuncturist said, take dairy out for a couple weeks, see what happens. And that was
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yep.
That was it.
Yeah, it is the diet with children. You know, people don't realize that their gut's not fully developed for up to 8 years. So that's why in many cultures they actually continue to breastfeed until they're 8. And I know that's culturally not acceptable here, but medically speaking, it actually is good for them. But I will say because of that, there's always a deficiency in their guts until they're 8 years old. And that's just for the healthy average. That could be longer. So the acupuncture and the herbs too, from my perspective, is extremely useful. They respond very well to diet changes and herbs. And I'll tell you, I'm sure you can have a parent telling them right and left, like, you need to eat this, eat that, but they're not going to listen. But if they do have someone on the outside coming in and saying, like, hey, food is thy medicine. Did you know that this food does this for your body and this
Yeah,
does this? And when you eat this, notice what happens.
definitely.
Yeah. I think the awareness is such a huge important thing in regards to this medicine, isn't it? Not only pediatric, but for all ages, people coming in and really, I always say connect the dots, which is, of course, a play on words and what we do, because we literally are connecting dots. But connecting the dots between what we're doing in our life and what we are feeling and what we are believing and what we are eating, ingesting, putting on our bodies, and how that affects our bodies. I think we don't really always connect that. But when you come in regularly to get treatment and you recognize I'm having this issue, this pain, this skin, what have you, then we'd go back and do our detective
Detective
work.
work, exactly. It's so much fun, especially the first appointment, looking at the history. And I feel like, I don't know for you, but it's kind of like someone comes in with a complaint and we look back to, how long ago did this start? I don't know, 3 years ago. And well, let's see what happened 3 years ago. And there's always something. I don't know. They
Yep.
changed their house. They got a divorce. Somebody important died. There, a lot of times, there's. Do you find that as well?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. I mean, I honestly think with this medicine, the biggest plus is that it's the diagnostics and the intakes, because I've had nurses and come to me and doctors that I treat and they say I have never had so many questions asked to me. And inevitably, I go back to those times and talk about exactly, well, what exactly happened, hormonally speaking, especially for women. Was it after a pregnancy or after a delivery? Was there trauma? Was there bleeding? Was there, around adolescence? What happened? These major hormonal changes or these emotional changes that happened in life, and go, oh, I never really thought about that. I really never connected that.
Exactly, the light bulb. But I think
Yeah.
we have, when we're not going to an acupuncture appointment, if you get sick or you go to another doctor, why aren't they asking me more questions about what's going on? Why is my appointment so fast? And why have I been prescribed something without more questions being asked?
Yes, well, the paradigms are different, and I think that's where the integrative care is so great and so unique and special and important. Is they are there for life or death, and they have that scope where it's necessary, and they're flooded with patients, and there are a lot of those things that are going to them that could be addressed by an integrative provider like yourself, a chiropractor, a naturopath, a functional medicine doctor. There's so many of us that can help them to the point where they don't necessarily have to go to their allopathic doctor, and it'll take a little load off of them, because I hear all the time here I can't get in for months to see my primary care.
Really?
And
That's
yeah, yeah,
here.
yeah.
Of course, we have universal health care here in Spain.
That's right. It is very different.
So
That is a good point to mention. And with that being said, insurance,
what
do you have
What
coverage?
I was gonna say also, it is a problem because a lot of people, of course, if they can't afford, the salaries are not high. It's a whole different system here. So getting an acupuncture treatment is a luxury when they can
Mm-hmm.
go see their doctor any day, anytime for anything, and they don't have to pay anything.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to weigh out the possibilities and the priorities and choose whether they want to pay out of pocket for acupuncture. So, no,
Because there is no coverage there.
there are some insurance companies that cover doctors that will do acupuncture in a medical setting, and it's totally different. So,
Yes, so I haven't touched on this, but this is a good time to mention the difference between a medical doctor doing acupuncture and like an East Asian provider. The real basic concept of it is the theory behind it. That, like you said, you went for what, 3 years, 3 years for your schooling, and then the internships and the externships and all the things that you do, and then just primarily focusing on this medicine. And my understanding is with medical doctors, they take a few classes, and it is a little more basic, I think, in regards to very fewer points, fewer styles. Sometimes it's more trigger point, motor point, which releases muscles but doesn't really go along the channel theory that we learn in ad nauseum, and continue to learn the layers of this theory of the medicine behind it, which I think that is really important to understand. And the diagnostics of which I speak,
mhm.
the in depth of the diagnostics that come with an East Asian provider who's done studies in this, is going to definitely be different than your medical doctor, because they're coming from that paradigm of diagnosis
Yeah, and
as opposed to.
I've never had acupuncture here in Spain through a medical doctor. I've considered it because I see my insurance covers it, so maybe I should check it
Mhm.
out. So I can't really compare. I've had many people come to me after
Mhm.
going to a medical doctor here for acupuncture, but wanting something a little bit more thorough. I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic, the concept of it. And I do want to say there are some exceptions. I do know some medical doctors that have actually gone through the
Me
schooling,
too.
and
Rock.
they actually have, or they started with the schooling and then they went in to be a medical doctor. So they actually do have some awareness of that. And that's amazing. I think those are few and far between.
I've studied with quite a few here. I'm curious what they're doing now, but I have studied with a lot of doctors and nurses, and I'm not sure if they've decided to continue in the medical field or going more towards East
Hmm.
Asian medicine. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's great information to know. So very similar here in California, acupuncture is becoming a broader scope getting covered, and we've talked about what they cover and what they don't cover in regards to all the ins and outs of medicine and what they pay and what they don't pay. That's definitely a whole nother conversation and a whole nother podcast. But I will say it is the conversation is in your scenario is that you have to either find someone under a medical doctor that will do it, or you have to pay out of pocket. Do you guys have FSA, HSA, any of that sort of thing? We have that here
No,
where it's paid into their.
I don't
Nope.
even know what it is. So maybe
Yeah,
here,
because
but
it's a flex spending account. It's basically our way of trying to help people because we don't have universal health care.
okay.
So,
No, I
yeah. So
do
you guys
find
probably
a
wouldn't need
lot
that.
of businesses, which is interesting, will cover acupuncture. So I do have a lot of people come see me and they get reimbursed for their sessions with me, which is amazing. They could even get massage. That's
Under the business, so the business itself is basically making it an employee benefit kind of
yes,
thing.
which I think is great. I don't know if that's something common in the
Yes.
US too, but
Yep.
yeah.
That's funny you should say that. I actually have in my clinic corporate packages, and that's what I tell my owners. So when I have patients that come in that do run businesses, I recommend that they offer them this employee benefit for their team. And so I do have some big companies, or not large companies, but medium sized companies that maybe they don't want to offer as money, the cost of healthcare is very expensive, but this is a great option for preventative care. So they will include this as part of their employee benefit and pay for it.
Yeah, I would want my employees getting acupuncture.
Yeah, absolutely. I see a difference in the employee camaraderie and coming to work when you're not in pain, sickness goes down, you're not as sick as often, and also longevity for the employee wanting to stay there because they feel respected and cared for.
Yes.
Hmm.
Well, and a
Yeah.
big
So,
difference though here in Spain, speaking of when people don't feel good, you if you don't feel good, you don't go to work, but you still get paid. So I have a lot of people that don't feel good. They had to take a break, and that's when they started taking care of themselves, coming to acupuncture. But what's fantastic is they don't have the pressure to hurry up and get back to work. If they need a month to get better or more because they're feeling overwhelmed and stressed, Spain totally supports that.
that is very different from our country. That's so interesting. That makes for a very different healthcare system.
Yeah. There's definitely pros and
But
cons for sure.
yes, thank you so much. I really do appreciate you taking more time. Just on a final wrap up note, I always like to share funny stories, unique stories, or special cases that you can tell me about that I think it's kind of cool for the listener to hear.
I'm trying to think. Funny, I mean, there's definitely a lot of smiling and laughing, but I can't think of anything humorous
Mm-hmm.
with acupuncture. I mean, my husband is my worst patient and best patient. He asks for acupuncture all the time, but he wants to count how many needles. He wants to know before I put the needles in exactly where I'm going to put them and how many needles I'm going to put in. And of course, the relationship is different with him. I'm not as nice to him. Other people come see me. I find a lot of people are scared of needles, more
Mm-hmm.
men than women, I've noticed, which is interesting. But once are in, they're okay. Somebody that was in actually yesterday For shoulder pain, one of my favorite spots is heart point number 1, right inside the armpit. And that spot, man, I've had people crying. Yesterday it was, she's calling it the happy point. She just started laughing and immediately felt better, but couldn't stop laughing and was apologizing because she said, I don't know, it's so funny. And I said, that's so interesting because the heart is related to laughter, you know? And
Inappropriate laughter specifically too.
yeah. And I
Yeah.
I find that all the time. There'll be one point that all of a sudden some emotion has come out. There can be tears, laughter, and then the person saying, I'm sorry, I don't know what's happening to me. I don't know what's happening to me. And I love that. I think it's magical. I don't know. Scientific,
Yeah.
magical.
No, it really is. The connection between the emotions and the physical is a very special thing about this medicine. I feel that sometimes can be intimidating for patients to come, but one thing I want to mention about the needles and people being anxious, I always talk to my patients about and I have this on one of my podcasts talking about the anticipation, and that's the worst part, right? The worst part is always the anticipation more so than the actual,
Yes. Even
treatment.
for me.
What do you do to help people relax and calm, and what is your experience with those people with that first
Well,
needle?
I have with the first needle, I love it when I have the newbies coming in and the ones that are nervous. And I say, come for a session, and we don't even have to use needles. But 100% every time we've ended up using needles. But I always tell the person, we don't have to.
You might be blowing your whole thing right
You're
now
not
when
going to hear
they're like, "Don't listen to Stephanie. I heard her on the, but I don't like needles.
it.
She
We
lies.
can
She's
use
gonna needle you anyway."
we can use acupressure, but I'll have them lay down, feel comfortable, and I'll say, okay, here's a needle. Do you want to see what it's going to look like first? I'd say 50-50 people want to see it. I usually start, a good point would be spleen 6. I find that's a very relaxing and soothing point and easy and not so scary. So I start with the points like that. And I'll put one needle in, stop there, and I say, how was that? Are you okay? And they always are. And then we go from there. And I find my first session, I generally use points that are a little bit more
Not in the armpit and the
not
axilla
in
for
the
the first session.
armpit,
I'm just
not
kidding.
small intestine 3 until the next session, but moving up with each session. And so much fun to see the progress too as the appointments go on. The
Yeah,
first appointment, the person's always a lot
yeah,
more nervous and I feel like they can't relax as much. But then the second
yeah,
appointment, almost everybody sleeps, which I love.
yeah,
I
yeah.
love when they fall asleep.
Yes, they go to the sweet
Yeah.
spot, I like to say. Where like, am I asleep? Am I awake? That's where the magic happens, I feel. But that's great. I really do have that similar scenario where I will do that and it goes in and they go, it's in, and I'm like,
That's
yeah,
it.
it's in. And then understanding too is that first visit is going to be more powerful because you've never had that before. Your whole body's trying to recalibrate, and that's a long journey of trying to recalibrate in one session. So I definitely take it easy on those first ones. And stepping back to Heart One, I had the exact same experience, and this is what I love about the medicine is the empirical evidence of patterns of people, and that's how they connected these points is, and the emotional thing is because obviously you're in Spain and I'm here. And I had the exact same response to this point to a needle where literally people just started laughing. And I said the exact same thing that this is the heart channel, which relates to inappropriate laughter. We have constitutions of heart constitutions, and you have those people that you're in life and you're like, why are they giggling about that? It's not funny, it's awkward or uncomfortable or scary, but they laugh, right? Because that's their constitution. And it's the awareness of it, right? And understanding that the excess or the deficiency of those places have these kind of effects. And when you do release that, either even with pressure or with a needle, it does have this effect. So not everybody cries in my office, not everybody has those kind of things, but when they do happen, it is pretty powerful, unkinking that hose that's been kinked for a long
We
time and the
hold so
floodgates open.
much. We hold so much in our bodies.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. That's so great. And I think it's such a lymphatic point, right? Our lymphatic drains through the axilla. And so people don't realize when that backs up, that affects your shoulders and it affects our hormones, when our lymphatic backs up. So it's a point for hormonal release, emotional release. Our subscapularis, the motor point for that is there. Such an amazing
It's a
point.
super
I do it as well. Not on day
no.
one, but it's like we have to kind of get to know each other a little bit first. Anyway, I really appreciate your story and thank you for being on here. Is there anything else that you wanted to share and anything that you're going forward with?
Thank you. No, honestly, I am dedicated to what I'm doing right now. I love it. It's just me here in my office. Originally, I was hoping to expand to something bigger, but I'm in a little village here on a seaside town in Catalonia. And I love that I just get to spend time in the present with the people that come to see me. So for now, I'm not looking towards the future for anything bigger. I'm just enjoying every person that comes to see me and however they got here.
Yes, I love that, and I can't wait to come to Spain. I haven't been to Spain yet. Hint, hint, hint. I am looking forward to coming. And for anybody who's in Arenys de Mar,
Or
right? Is that right?
Barcelona. If you're
Spain?
in Barcelona,
Or Barcelona,
invite.
to definitely look up Accusage and come and see you. And there's a place to go in Spain
Thank you so
that can
much,
help you with
Melissa.
acupuncture massage.
And next
Awesome.
time I'm in San Diego, I'll see you as I always do.
Yes, thank you so much for your time and your expertise. And I wish you well. And I'll talk to you very soon. Hopefully, I'll see you very soon.
Thank
Thank you
you.
again. And I'll let you go, get back to your family.
Thank you for everything you're doing for this wonderful medicine.
I love it, and I love the conversation. So it lights me up, and I look forward to the next conversation that we have, which I'm sure will be all about this
Let's
because
talk
we can't
again.
help ourselves.
Let's talk again.
All right. All right,
Thank
Stephanie. Again,
you.
thank you so much. Take care.
Bye.
Bye. The information provided in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only, and it is not intended as medical advice. Always consult with a qualified healthcare professional before making any changes to your health, medical treatment, or medication. The views expressed in this podcast are those of the hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of any medical institution.